In terms of other contracts, and again, it's been a case of trying to do a bit of digging, get information on this. Does anyone remember what Alex Crook said on September the 23rd, contract-wise? Anyone remember that? Fair while ago, wasn't it? Alex Cook did say on TalkSport, Liverpool do want to reward Ryan Gravenberch with a new long-term contract. So that's one midfielder you need to tie down. And we'll come to him and a few others. But speaking of other midfielders, Curtis Jones is in the last 2 years. Do you remember we talk about that 2-year mark, don't we? That 2-year mark. And we've seen the reports Liverpool say, leaking it to various patch journos and outlets, we will not get into a situation like we are now. And another bit of a dig at the clock regime, as we know. But that's the essence of it, as in that golden 2-year mark, as in renew or gone. Curtis Jones is in his last 2 years. As we said before, Curtis Jones, we said this all summer on Anfield Index, the transfer show. Our info is that Curtis Jones is very aware of what his colleagues, were on in that midfield area. Because Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, they all came in on a pretty penny, didn't they? Curtis Jones is fully aware of that. Curtis Jones is also fully aware of his homegrown status and his importance to the squad that way. They're not going to get him on a cheap, are they? No, it's going to be a minor payable. Curtis Jones is going to, understandably, be looking for parity with his colleagues in this, isn't he? So that is not going to be an easy deal to do at all. So another thing, contract-wise, on Richard Hughes' list. And as we said, you've got Ryan Gravenberch looking to, if Alex Crook's right, open negotiations there. That won't be cheap for a midfielder that, if he was on the market, most of the big clubs in Europe would be stiffing, wouldn't they, on current form, understandably. Tell you where else other clubs in Europe would be sniffing, if it's true, Dominic Szoboszlai. Arne Slot mentioned him in the summer, saying if he was on the market, we want 100 million plus for him. He kind of said it tongue-in-cheek, but it just piqued people's interests when he said it previously. I thought, I'm kind of a bit weird, but I don't know why you're mentioning that. But there are reports, and again, reports that Liverpool what's stupid to say? Liverpool want to extend the contract of Dominic Szoboszlai. And why wouldn't they? Everyone see that Ben Boxack tweet of just how good Dominic Szoboszlai's been this season, just in case you missed it. Set your eyes to Horny when you watch this for how good he's been. Number 10, right back, all in the same game. Look at that. Szoboszlai so far. Most progressive passes, 56. Most shot-creating actions, 33. Most tackles won, 15. Most tackles and interceptions, 25. Most recoveries, 56. Most carries into the final third, 22. Right back, in the double pivot. Number 10, back to what he did last season on Saturday. Does it all. And when you do it all, and when you are this important to Liverpool's team, are you going to want compensating us so? There's a Canate aside, there's plenty of contract work to do. And the other midfielder there that you could bracket together, and you should bracket together really, but I didn't mention, this is McAllister. There is a weird sort of thing around Alexis McAllister, isn't it, for this summer, that it's not been missed that he's talked about, some of my South American pals have gone, there's only me and Ali left. He's name-checked Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez a few times, so that South American contingent has got smaller. It's also the question mark a little bit around Ali and his long-term future now as well. The other thing is, there's links, and I mean repeated links, this summer, and they're still not going away, are they? Alexis McAllister to Real Madrid. Now, I adore Alexis McAllister. I've said before on numerous pods, I do think he is the best midfielder in the Premier League. The form right now does not bear that out. I do think he's still struggling with this injury massively. And it does look like he's carrying a parachute on his back, doesn't he? The way he's playing at the moment. Why, oh why, he's gone to Argentina duty. I mean, 2 friendlies. Did anyone clock that? But transfer-wise, and I want to be completely wrong on this and made to look silly, but there is just a bit of a question mark, isn't there, around his long-term future? And also, I'd ask you this. With Curtis Jones 2 years left to go, or inside 2 years left to go, with Gravenberch clearly wants to be timed down, same with Dominic Szoboszlai, would Liverpool do 4? Did they do big extensions for all 4 of those? Because I'm not so sure. Longer term, that screams to me of the way the people at the top were, like Hughes and Edwards, a case of them thinking, nah, sell one and reinvest. Now, you can call it blasphemy. We all adore these players, but that is not how the men at the top look at it. You can't pitch it any other way. Liverpool's model is partly based on a big sale. Yeah, if you want to talk transfers, go back to the summer just gone. For all the money that came in, one of the greatest achievements in the summer was the sales, wasn't it? And how much money we got for the players going out. So to keep that model being fed, it's a cycle, isn't it? The scales have got to be balanced, whatever analogy you want me to use. So contracts are big considerations right now. Even ahead, and even having spent over 400 million, of course, with everything we're looking at, thinking, where are we short? Where is there maybe a lack of balance just now? Stevie Wonder can see we would sell the family silver to get this man in. These reports won't go away, will they? Simon Jones had it the other day, but as it says there on the screen, Crystal Palace making plans to offer Adam Wharton improved terms and a potential release clause. Liverpool hold a keen interest, as to Chelsea and Manchester City. And also, as we've said before on the Anfield Index transfer show, Real Madrid as well. Why wouldn't Adam Wharton have his pick of suitors? Tell you why Crystal Palace are wanting to get this done. We all know, because if they don't get that release clause in, you know he's going to want to go. You know he's going to have a pick of suitors. I mean, there's reports, isn't there, or rumours, that Adam Wharton's already agreed terms with other clubs. It all depends about doing the deal with Palace. Suggestions as well. Don't know if anyone's clocked this, that there's an agreement around 70 million-ish for the summer. That's the suggestion. But Palace want to put that new contract on the table. So there's a set release clause. So they know what they're dealing with. And especially after the way it worked with Eze Gay for them, I understand why they might want to do that. By the way, actually Liverpool got Adam Wharton. Progressive issues, gone, goodbye. Whatever you say about it, whatever you could level about him in a few injury record for one so young, a diesel rather than a Rolls Royce for a player, transit, anything you could level at him, the one thing that you just couldn't ignore, Adam Wharton would solve our progressive issues like that. What a player. Sell a kidney to get him in the summer, May. I actually think there's a real chance. If we're going to do it, yeah, we will see what happens on that one. But why did the banner, I suppose people will ask, come up with Palace reunion? Because that's where the stories are, isn't it? Adam Wharton, as we mentioned there, being linked. Does anyone remember this? When Lewis Steele, because he had it in his column, but we managed to get him. The short back and quiff of the Patch Journos came on the pod, didn't he? And talked all about the stories to us he'd written. So when was this? going back. That was early September, wasn't it? Do you remember when Louis Steele talked about that? For those of you going, not a clue, I can't remember what he said, didn't watch it, blah, blah, blah. This is what he said. So I've got it for you here. I think he, Olise, will be a name that is discussed a lot next summer or the summer after, just because Bayern, from what I hear, are preparing for a big sale at some point in the next 12 months. Liverpool will be looking for a long-term Mo Salah replacement, and I think Olise could be on the list. But it's very, very early days. Word for word, what Louis Steele said September the 5th on Media Matters. Won't mind a Palace reunion. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it is completely wishful thinking. And Bayern Space has said on this, and you know what? People will have comments on that. You know, Indy Callie has mentioned about Michael Olise as well, and the links are listed. If Michael Olise is at all available, it won't be cheap, and we will not be the only suitors. But there are those links to us. Christian Fawkes talked about it as well. What money for a Palace 23-24 reunion at Anfield? What money for Mark Gay on a free? Adam Wharton for major bucks? 60, 70, depending on what you want to believe. You know, World Cup could change that, of course. Michael Olise, is there that release clause that Bayern Space mentioned, 90 to 100 million-ish? If there is, I think we should be all over it, but we will not be the only ones. It will be like flies on rhino diarrhea, literally flying around everywhere for the big clubs, if that is true. Palace reunion 23-24 at Anfield. So even in the summer, there's already links coming, isn't there? Let's be honest, none of them moves are happening in January. None of them moves are happening in a World Cup year when those players are looking. Ward's not going anywhere. Olise's not going anywhere in their setups. Gay's probably the one, you'd think, possibly. But then again, you listen to all the reports, don't you? Ornstein's saying no. Joy's saying no. So maybe it is, if you want it, Palace reunion 23-24 at Anfield, summer 26. That's what a lot of us would like. Doesn't mean you get what you like, though, does it? But honestly, there we go, people. Transition at the moment. Opposition fans will be talking absolute wham, but you understand why it's levelled against us. There are some questions when you spend that money that have got to be answered. Yes, it is only October, but they still need to be answered. The reality is for Ibou Konate right now, you'd be more astonished if there was a renewal signed. You know that's true from what you're hearing from the reports. The centre-back situation, there's names. There's the Gay link that won't go away. There's other options, young, progressive, Premier League experience abroad. Various names that are being linked. But not for January, which gives you that concern, doesn't it? Can you go into that second half of the season if you're chasing the two biggest prizes with Van Dijk, Konate and his injury concerns, Joe Gomez clearly not fancied, and then maybe what? Endo was fourth choice? We think there's that to sort for January. We also think there's other contracts to sort. Curtis Jones in the last 2 years. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai. They're going to want major money as well to renew. Always the question mark when you do the big deals, which we're right to do. As we said, for Van Dijk and Salah, we can't start changing our tune now, but others will take note and clock that. So it's a knock-on effect. And all that maybe, and maybe this is just willing it into existence, and this 23-24 reunion at Anfield Summer 26. I won't start sending the invitations out just yet. But there we go, ladies and gents. It's only October, but contracts, getting things right, transfers, it will just creep up on you before you know it. Cheers for your comments. Cheers for your views. Thank you to everyone who's watched. Thank you to everyone who's listened. On Tuesday, the 7th of October, that was a transfer show special for Anfield Index.